Your windows are leaking and they're awful. Here's the top 6 quick fixes with a bonus at the end to get you through the next few months. Typically where you see most problems is the caulk on the exterior. Now, you want to make sure that you look at your windows, you inspect them probably about every 2 to 3 years to check the caulk on the outside and ensure that there is a good enough caulk bead on the outside, that there's no cracks or breaks in the caulk bead on the outside, and you want to make sure you're using an exterior quality caulk. You don't want to use a water-based caulk. You want to use like a polymer-based caulk or an oil-based caulk on the outside of your home. You don't want to use that typically on the inside of your home because it's got a little bit of a smell to it, but an exterior grade caulk, we use Quad Max by OSI. Like, this stuff is amazing and it's going to keep the elements out. Number 2, that's really important regarding keeping water and air out. Water is really the main thing, aside from air and the energy, but is there any rot on the outside? Maybe the windows are vinyl or aluminum clad, but the trim around it is wood. Now, does that trim have areas that water can get in or that there's water damage? A lot of times you'll see little variations in the wood. It's typically at the bottom corner where the casing will meet the sill. That's usually where you're going to see it. That's the warning point. By the time you start to see it, that's probably done. I'd recommend pulling that off or patching it with a Bondo or a wood filler, and then after that, painting it. If you have wood windows, wood trim, make sure you treat that so it's sealed from the outside. That combination of number 1, caulk, number 2, fillers, and number 3, paint on the outside out of our list of 6, that's going to be really important. Now, moving to the inside of how the window functions and how it works, and as far as water, air, all that good stuff that we talk about when we have old windows, what do we do for that? First step, again, caulk is going to be the answer, but something like a water-based caulk. This is a clear silicone. That's of course available to you. You're not going to see it as much. This cannot be painted, but caulk can be painted. A silicone or caulk on the inside is really the way you want to go. And what do you want to do with that? You want to see, are you feeling draft from by the interior trim, right? I have some interior trim here. Now that interior trim sits on the jamb of the window, just like this. That interior trim sits where the reveal is, and behind there you have the rough opening where the 2x4s or 2x6s are. With that, is there insulation behind here? Is there not? You could always pull one piece of trim to see, but caulk, if there's any break or if there is no caulk on this underside or the top side where it meets the drywall, that's something where number 4 is going to come into play. Now, before you do this, you want to see, maybe pull one piece of trim. If it feels drafty, little flat bar or something like that, you could pop one piece of trim with a razor knife. You won't mess up your wall or anything like that. Take a look behind there. Did they put a good amount of insulation in there? And when it comes down to insulation, that's important because there's air that's going through the house in between the walls. That insulation is crucial to making sure your windows and doors perform properly. Now, what type of insulation should you do? The type of insulation really depends on what you're most comfortable with. Typically, folks used to use newspaper years ago, right? There would be newspaper in there. Then there's fiberglass insulation where you'd use like a putty knife or a 5-in-1 tool and kind of pull that pink batt insulation, that fiberglass insulation, and tuck it in between the exterior and the interior trim in that rough opening to fill that gap. What we like to use is a low expansion foam. Now that low expansion foam is going to fill every void all around that window because it expands. It can get a little bit messy, you have to be careful with it, but it's really a great product that's going to really seal around that window and keep the air from getting in like nothing else out there. Having said that, if you're going to choose an expansion foam, ensure that you're using a low expansion foam that's designed for windows and doors. There's plenty of expansion foams out there, big gap fillers, for fire block. There's a ton of them. If you use those, it's going to push so hard on the jamb of the window, it could crack the window, and it's definitely gonna bow it, take it out of shape. Not a great solution. You will instantly need new windows and doors if you use that. So low expansion foam, awesome option. Last option is regarding the hardware and the balance mechanisms that help a window lift up and down or help a window crank out. Now, those balance mechanisms that are in play are something that the mechanics of that, they get dirt and grime and dust, and sometimes they don't work so hot. Sometimes they need to be replaced. What folks tend to use as a mistake is this. This is the worst thing you could ever possibly use on your windows or doors. It's a great product. It's a great tool for anyone to have in their home. However, for the gears of windows and doors, or for the balances of windows and doors, this is not the option you want, because dirt is going to attract on it and it's going to work well for about a month. And after that, it's going to destroy those gears. What you want to use is a dry silicone. Now, dry silicone spray, you're going to kind of look at it and go, damn, this is WD-40. It's the same thing, but it's absolutely not. It will not grab on to dirt and dust, and it's going to allow that window to perform. You don't need a ton of it. You kind of spray it on, wipe it with a rag, and that should help with lifting a window up and down. So you heard the top 6, but last, this is a bonus that I'm gonna give you, and it's weather stripping. Now, weather stripping is all over windows, and most of them are specific to the manufacturer that supplies those windows. However, there's a bunch of aftermarket type weather strips, like this bulb one here, or you have like this little rubber weather strip, we call it licorice here, and there's this one. So for like, this one's typically on doors. This is a Q-Lon weather strip. Some of these weather strips can be made available at like your typical hardware store if you're looking for something generic to just fit an old window for time. Some of them have like a double stick tape that you can just stick it on there to hold. None of those solutions are gonna last forever, but if you're like, Dan, I'm just trying to get through the winter to get this done and we'll figure out the windows in the spring, or you know, I'm trying to get through the summer and we'll knock that out in the fall, totally understand, and for a couple bucks that can be a solution. Having said that, if you look at all of this and you're like, I don't even know where to begin, I'd be happy to assess your situation and give you the best advice on what would apply towards you. So if you'd like help, contact us at info@monmouthmillwork.com.